Hello everyone, 大家好. My name is Wyatt Gordon and I'd like to welcome you to Master Mandarin with Ybird Language Services. Today's topic is 8 commonly used auxiliary modal particles for expressing tone in Mandarin. 今天的句题是八首通用语气助词。语气助词是什么呢？ What is an auxiliary modal particle? That sounds very linguistic, right? So this is a special kind of word that we have in Chinese. It doesn't really exist in spoken English, a little bit in written English in the form of punctuation. But these auxiliary modal particles for expressing tone express the emotional and functional meaning changes that we express with intonation in English. Because tones are so strict in Chinese, we use these particles at the end of a sentence, after a word, or after a phrase to indicate different changes in emotional or functional meaning of the sentence, word, or phrase. So I think these are very important in Chinese, especially for kind of elevating your spoken Chinese and making it a bit more authentic, because people use these every day, all the time. Although I think they're not really addressed well enough in a lot of Chinese textbooks, and a lot of people get a bit confused about how to use them and how to use them properly. So I want to go over some of the 8 most commonly used and most useful of these modal particles with you all today. And at the end of the video, we'll have a look at some bonus particles, which are just for fun. I think these are quite fun because they're an interesting feature of Mandarin that is, doesn't really exist in many other languages. It's unique, so they can be quite fun if you're a language nerd like me. So let's get started today with the most common of these modal particles for tone, and that's ah. Ah. So we'll usually say this with the neutral tone or the fifth tone or no tone. You can say it with the other tones, as you can see there. But let's talk about what this generally expresses. So the first and most important one is exclamations. So let's look at this example below here. 你很棒啊,你很棒啊. So you're awesome. 棒 means awesome or cool, something really great. So 你很棒啊. This makes it into an exclamation. It also harmonizes the sentence. You see this with the ending particle le sometimes. Sometimes le doesn't actually add any meaning to a sentence, doesn't change the tense. Sometimes it just harmonizes it and gives it a rounded sound. So just to compare, 你很棒,你很棒啊,你很棒啊. Right? So it sounds, that kind of 4-character combination sounds better to the Chinese ear in general. So it's both an exclamation and a little bit of a harmonizing modal particle in this instance. This can also be used to express impatience, which of course is just another kind of exclamation, but that's a common time that this is used. So, for example, 你做得太慢啊,快点啊. So you're walking too slowly, faster. So it just gives extra stress to what you said before that. It gives a little oomph, the oomph of an exclamation. So 你做得太慢啊,快点啊. The next one is imperatives or orders or commands, direct orders or commands that you give to another person. So the example I have for you here is 让开啊,让开啊. 让开 means get out of the way, but 让开啊 makes it a direct order. So this is something you might hear from the police or from a teacher to their students or from a parent to their child. Imperatives, they're useful in all kinds of situations, but we usually put an a after the one character or two character word phrase that you're using to give your order. Next, you can use a to put emphasis on a question, especially if you've already asked the same question. So, for example, if someone gives you a call on the phone and you say, 你是谁? Who are you? Or who is this in English? Say, 你是谁? And they don't answer. 是谁啊?是谁啊? Emphasizing that question again. So this is a little bit like a question mark followed by an exclamation mark in spoken Chinese. All right. So you can also use this to indicate a deliberate pause. So, for example, 上周啊，我一直在忙着了. Last week, I was busy the whole week through. So this is a bit like a spoken comma. It just gives you a slight pause and directs the attention to the following idea. 上周啊，我一直在忙着了. Very busy last week. Okay, and finally for you can use to emphasize items on a list. So in this list here, we have a list of vegetables that someone is growing in their garden. 黄瓜啊，南瓜啊，小瓜啊，在园子里它都种了. So cucumbers, pumpkins, zucchini, or courgettes if you're a British English speaker. She grows them all in her garden. So yeah, just emphasizing each item in a list for clarity. Okay, moving right along to the next auxiliary modal particle. We have ya. Ya. Again, this is usually neutral tone. You can say ya with the first tone or apparently xia with the first tone. I've never heard that pronunciation personally, so it's usually just neutral tone ya. So ya is used in much the same way as or that's the first way that it's used anyway. So we use ya when after the end of the character that you're placing after ends in an a, I, o, or u sound in Chinese. So, for example, below here we have 快来呀,快来呀. So we don't say 快来啊, we say 快来呀 because it just flows a bit better. It has that harmony of sound that we really like in Chinese, in Mandarin. So 快来呀 means come quickly. So one thing you'll notice here is lai ends in ai. So it's not the sound, it's the final sound that you're judging this by. So lai is the I sound in Chinese. So 来呀 sounds better than 来啊. Okay. Also, ya can be used to express surprise or doubt in a situation. So, for example, if I say 是他 as a question, 是他, is it him? That just is a general question, is it him? But if I say 是他呀, that means, are you sure it's him? Or I doubt it's him for some reason. So, 是他呀, 是他呀. And usually if you're using it for surprise or doubt, it's a little drawn out. 是他呀. Yeah. So that's ya. And we have another one like ya, which is wa. Wa. So this is used instead of when the previous word ends in the yu or ao sounds in Chinese. So an example here is 你那么高啊,你那么高啊, you're so tall. You're so tall. So 高啊, again, sounds a little awkward to the Chinese ear, so we'd say 高哇, and it flows better and has that harmony of sound. 高哇，你那么高哇。Wa is also wow in Chinese, which I like. So, for example, in this sentence below, we have 哇，这盘菜太好吃啊. So I put at the end of the sentence because it's an exclamation. Wow, this dish is so delicious. But yeah, wa at the beginning of a sentence usually means wow. You'll often also hear it with sai, wa sai, which kind of translates to like wowza in English, which I think is funny that there's an equivalent for that in Chinese. But yeah, you can say wa sai. Or in Yunnan, where I studied most of my Chinese, you can say wa sei, wa sei. But just wa also means wow. Wa is also an onomatopoeia in Chinese. It can be the sound of a child crying, much like wah in English, but we'd say wa in Chinese. And it can also be the sound of vomiting, which I don't know when you'll use that in your writing, but maybe you will. Okay, next we have probably the second most common of all of these auxiliary modal particles, and that is ma. This you'll probably learn in your first or second Chinese class to indicate yes or no questions. So the most basic example is when we say ni hao ma, which means are you, literally means are you good, or it also means how are you, but we say are you good, ni hao ma. So if you hear ma at the end of a question, that usually means that it's a yes or no question, almost always. So 你吃了吗? 你吃了吗? That means did you eat or have you eaten? The tense isn't so important in this case, but 你吃了吗? This is also this example question is also a useful greeting in Chinese. Instead of saying hello to your friends or family, saying 你好, it's a little strange in Chinese. So instead, we would say something like 你吃了吗? Have you eaten? When you first see someone. It's a bit of a cultural difference there, but I really like that. Have you eaten? 你吃了吗? You can also use ma in more formal situations as a pause before a main idea. So, for example, 这个情况嘛，我们应该跟老板讨论一下。这个情况嘛，little pause. 我们应该跟老板讨论一下。So the translation I have there is what we would probably say in English. We should first discuss the situation with the boss. But if we translate it more literally, it would be this situation. I think we need to discuss it with the boss, something like that, or we should discuss it with the boss. So yeah, it just gives you a little time to draw attention to your main idea. Okay, ma can also be used for rhetorical questions. So these are for yes or no questions, but in a rhetorical sense. So, for example, 你没听到我刚才说的吗? 你没听到我刚才说的吗? Did you not hear what I just said? So, obviously a rhetorical question, depending on how you're using it, I guess. But this is something you might, a teacher might say to a student or a parent might say to a child. Did you not just hear what I said? 你没听到我刚才说的吗? The reason we know this is rhetorical is because the question is asked in the negative. So 你没听到 or 你没有听到. So we're saying it, did you not? Can't you? We do that in English too, so it's very similar for rhetorical questions. Okay, so that's ma. Moving right along to the other ma. So this one is hard to distinguish in spoken Chinese, but if you see it written, the expression and the difference in the meaning is quite large. So, okay, what does this express? The first thing is that something is obvious. So the one difference with this ma is that it's not at the end of a question usually. So that's a good way to distinguish it. So here in this example, we say 这件事我已经知道了吗? I already knew that. 这件事我已经知道了吗? I already knew that. So yeah, you can put it after anything that seems obvious to you. It can also be used as a hope or a suggestion or maybe a hopeful suggestion. In this example, we see 既然你有空就跟他一起嘛，一起去嘛。Excuse me, 一起去嘛。So 既然你有空就跟他一起去嘛。Since you have free time, you should go with him. I think this one is also kind of similar to the obvious meaning, but it's like an obvious suggestion in a way. So, 既然你有空就跟他一起去嘛。Since you have free time, you should go with him. Okay, last one for this ma. Pause to catch someone's attention. This is very similar to the way that and the previous ma were used to indicate a deliberate pause. So in this example, you can see 这个问题嘛太难解决. This problem is too hard to solve. 这个问题嘛太难解决. 解决. That one's hard to say. 解决. Anyway, so 这个问题嘛, you're trying to catch the attention of the listener, draw their attention to the problem. 这个问题. 这个问题嘛太难解决. Okay, we're moving right along. Oh, this is one that you won't really find in the dictionary, but I think is important. So it kind of can be used to express exasperation or encouragement. So for exasperation, you kind of have to draw out the ma a little bit. So for example, if someone is coming very slowly, you'd say, 来嘛,来嘛. So it doesn't add a tone, but you just kind of lengthen the ma, 来嘛. We can also do this for encouragement. So 来嘛,来嘛. You'll see this a lot in advertising or on people's WeChat pages. If they're advertising an event, they might say 来嘛, meaning like, come on. This is used a lot in Yunnan as well, especially, I think. Although you can kind of hear this one all over China. Okay, next one is ba. Ba. And this one is very important. People use this all the time, but it's important to get right because the meaning is a little funny and there's lots of uses for it. So let's just have a look at these most common uses. First one is a suggestion, a request, or kind of like a friendly command. So for example, here we have 走吧, and this you hear all the time. If a group of people is going to leave a place, someone will always say 走吧,走吧, let's go, let's go. So it's in that case it's friendly. You're not saying let's go, dang it. You're saying let's go, 走吧. The next is approval. We use this after 好 a lot. So 好吧,就那么安排吧. Okay, let's schedule it like that then. So 安排 is to schedule. So here I have it in both after 好 and at the end of the sentence. So that kind of shows extra approval, showing a friendly agreement. So 好吧,就那么安排吧. Okay, next is leading questions. So if you put ba at the end of a question, it can mean something similar to when you say right or okay at the end of a sentence, at the end of a question in English. So in this example, we have 她来自东京吧. She's from Tokyo, right? 她来自东京吧. So yeah, ba at the end of a question could it's like a leading question. You're confirming some information. Okay, another one is uncertainty about a situation. So if you're not sure about something, you can make a statement and then say ba at the end of it. So for example, 他们做了吧? they left already. So you're not sure if they left, but that's what you think happened. 他们走了吧? You can also draw out this ba a little bit and make it softer. So for example, 他们走了吧? Something like that. Means you're not really sure, but that's what you think happened. Okay, and last one for ba is alternative choices. So this is kind of an interesting one. It's sort of similar to how we use to emphasize items in a list. But look at this example here. So maybe you're at a restaurant and your friend says, do you want noodles, 面条, or do you want 米线, rice noodles? And you say, 面条吧,好吃,米线吧,也好吃,都可以吧? Noodles are delicious, rice noodles are delicious, either one will do. So yeah, you're just emphasizing the two choices and how they are similar in that way. So you have these choices in this situation where you don't really mind which is chosen. That's often how it's used as far as I can tell. So 面条吧好吃,米线吧也好吃,都可以吧? Okay, and there's one last one, also not really a dictionary definition of ba, but I've seen it myself in conversations with friends and coworkers. It can also be a reluctant agreement. So not like a friendly, enthusiastic agreement, but a reluctant agreement. But here again, you need to draw out the ba a little bit. So for example, if someone asks you if you can do something for them that you don't really want to do, you can say, 好吧. So it's longer, 好吧. It's almost a little bit falling tone at the end when people do that. But anyway, that's not a common use, but it's one that you'll hear, especially amongst young people in China, I think. 好吧. Okay. Moving right along, we have another ba, but this one you need a l or liao at the end. So, 罢了. This so we have a long list of things that expresses there. All of those are kind of the same in English. It just depends on how you would translate the sentence out of Mandarin. But let's look at this example below. So for example, if your friend isn't eating and they feel guilty about it, you could say this, 没问题,你就是不饿罢了. 没问题,你就是不饿罢了. No problem, you're not hungry, that's all. 没问题,你就不饿罢了. It's hard to say 不饿罢了, but that's a good example, I think, because yeah, it just means that's all. That's what's going on in the situation, but it's fine. Okay, no problem. 没问题,你就是不饿罢了. Okay, then we have ne. This is one that's used for lots of different things as well, kind of like ba. Let's look at the first one. So the first one is more of a grammatical change, but it's important as well. So alternative follow-up questions. So if you're asking a series of questions about something or someone, you can use ne at the end of your new question. So for example, if someone just told me where my friend lives, I could say, 他父母住在哪里呢? 他父母住在哪里呢? And where do his parents live? So it's kind of like saying, and where do his parents live, or where do his parents live then? Something like that in English. So it's emphasizing a follow-up question. You can also use this for assertions. So not in a question, but at the end of a statement, you can say ne to emphasize that you are asserting an opinion or what you know to be true. So in this example, we have 复杂的很,一个人不会自己做完的. It's very complicated. One person cannot finish it alone. So the first part is the assertion. 复杂的很. It's very complicated. 复杂的很. And then the additional assertion to emphasize that is 一个人不会自己做完的. One person cannot finish it alone. You can also use na, again in more of a grammatical sense, to indicate a continuing action. So 那家公司正在营业呢. If this was a question, it would be a follow-up question, but because there's a period, we know that it's not a question. So the company is open for business now. That company is open for business now, or they are doing business now. This is more like the present continuous tense in English. So 那家公司正在营业呢. That company is open for business now. Okay, and na can also be used to indicate a pause, just like a, ma, and the other ma. So in this example, we have a bit more of a formal example, using kind of more formal Chinese. So 如今呢可以比以往任何时候都很顺利. So the pause there is after 如今, which means as for the present. So 如今呢 means as for the present, things are going smoother than any time in the past. 顺利 means smooth, smoothly or smoother or smooth when we're talking about a situation or some kind of project or something like that. So this is, again, just a way to indicate a pause at the beginning of a sentence. And we have reached the end of the 8 most common auxiliary modal particles. 大家辛苦了啊. 大家辛苦了啊. You've all been working very hard. 勤学苦练. 勤学苦练 means you're working very diligently and with bitter practice. This 成语 on this side, excuse me, on this side. 勤学苦练 is a very good expression for a good student or a hardworking person in general. So we've gotten to the end of the most important of these particles. So 我们先玩一下吧. Let's have some fun now with our bonus particles. Okay, so the first of our bonus particles is la. La. This is a fusion of the ending particle l, which usually indicates past tense, and a, which we talked about earlier. So one very common example of this is okay la. So instead of saying okay la a, we say okay la. That's one that you'll see a lot on the internet, or people actually say that as well. Okay la means okay, but it's giving a more playful and more enthusiastic kind of agreement. La is also an onomatopoeia. It can be used for laughing, singing, cheering, and many other things as well. It's also used in transliteration for the sound la. Anyway, yeah, that's a kind of a fun one. You can put it really after anything with l and a, but it's not very formal, so it's something you want to use more with your friends or just in kind of day-to-day conversation, not really at work or at school or something like that. This is another one, very similar, is lei. Lei, or sometimes people say le, or with first tone le, but I like lei better because that's how they say it in Yunnan province. So it's an alternative version of la, but it indicates, again, more approval, enthusiasm. It's a bit more fun than just saying le. So our example here is 是挺好吃的嘞. 是挺好吃的嘞. It's rather delicious. You'll hear this lei in Yunnan province and other places in southern China a lot. 好吃的嘞. And it's usually drawn out like that. Lei. Yeah, just as a happy way to end a sentence and show that you're enjoying something. It's really useful for that. Okay, next is bei or bai. Bei, bai. So this one, actually, I haven't really come across that much personally. I haven't really heard many people use it, but it is useful. And it has a very exact meaning compared to some of the other ones. So it's a good one that you can use in your conversations. So bei can be used to show resignation or a lack of enthusiasm, kind of the opposite of lei or la. So in this example here, 我得去就去呗. If I must go, then I will go. 我得去就去呗. So bei also might be softened and drawn out a little bit, I think. So 我得去就去呗. You know, just showing I don't really want to, but I must. The other thing is obvious suggestions, kind of like ma, the second ma. So, for example, 你要过关你的考试，就要好好学习呗. If you want to pass your exam, you just have to study hard. No other way about it. So it's an obvious suggestion. It means there's only a certain way something can be done, something you don't even really need to say, right? But you do just to have a conversation or to reassure someone maybe. So 你要过关你的考试，就要好好学习呗. Okay, and the last of the bonus particles for today is one of my personal favorites. Comes directly from Yunnan dialect. So this is one that's not used all over China. It's mostly used in Yunnan, which is ga. Ga. Here they had in the dictionary I was using had ga with the second tone, so ga. But I think actually in most cases it's the fourth tone or a neutral tone, especially in Yunnan dialect. So ga is really similar to le or a. It can be used with le too, so maybe more similar to a, but it depends on the situation. So just an example here of the Yunnan dialect usage, we have manzou ga, manzou ga. So manzou is a very useful expression everywhere in China. I mean, literally means go slowly. But it's a polite way to say goodbye to a guest or a customer or a friend. It means take care or don't go yet, something like that. So 慢走ga, ga. So again, with the second tone, I wrote it with the second tone because that's more correct. But in the way that people actually say it in Yunnan, it's more just ga or ga, like the fourth tone. So 慢走ga. Another note about ga is it's used often in transliteration in Chinese. So if you're transliterating a Tibetan name or a Mongolian place, it's usually used with those two languages the most. So you might see it in temples or other historical sites for that reason. Let's see, one more example for you is 谢谢ga, 谢谢ga. So like in that example, it's also just ah. So 谢谢ga means thank you with a little extra oomph of an exclamation. I like ga better than ah though because I learned Chinese in Yunnan, but also because I just love the sound of it. There's some other uses for it too. I think you can use it, like for example, if you want to confirm something with someone, you'd say, if you want to say that's right, you'd say like 是ga, but you could also just say ga, meaning like is that true? Ga. But anyway, that is all for this class today. That's the last of the bonus particles. So 谢谢ga, 谢谢你们，谢谢大家来收看。Please like and follow at Ybird Language Services. You can follow me on YouTube and on Instagram, and we'll have lots more materials for Chinese learning as well as English learning coming your way very soon. So thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope to see you next time on Master Mandarin with Ybird Language Services. I'm Wyatt Gordon. 再见啦，拜拜。 See you next time.